evening, Leroy. Welcome to edition number 30 from the Pressbox.
Already
we haven't
30?
gotten canceled yet.
Already 30?
30, and we haven't gotten canceled yet. So, wow, look at us
impressive.
go.
That's impressive.
Then again, I mean, the only two people that can theoretically cancel us are on this call right now, and I don't potentially really have plans of canceling us just yet. I don't have necessarily.
We'll see what happens once spring rolls around.
Yes, and once we start struggling again I see a sponsorship again. We're already jumping into the sponsorship parts of the broadcast.
Coors told me they were no longer interested. Something about me being me, that they were like, all right, gone. So I called up to Miller Lite. Miller Lite was like, yeah, you're our guy. So
Dr. Pepper, if you'd like. I mean, I will wear any Dr. Pepper something. I mean, listen, dude, I'll rock it.
They'd have some of the best commercials during the football games.
See, I don't know that I necessarily like the fans. I think it's just because one of those things, because I watch so much college football.
Oh, you've seen it to death.
Exactly. And you know how that gets. It just gets to the point. It's like during Reds games, or I guess for you during Cubs games, you watch it so much. Bye, Tim. You watch it so much that they just get very stale. Like you can sit there and go, oh, here it comes again. You know, Wrecker and Burger. Looking on first.
And interestingly enough, so the Big Ten has a commercial where it's like they started in like Nebraska and they move like east, and each city pops up with like stereotypes of what they're like well known for, like the corn and like the traditions, you know, all the way down until they get to Rutgers. And it had a really awesome song behind it. Well, they ran it for a whole year and it was great. The very next year, they changed the song and everybody threw a fit because they changed the song in the commercial. That the Big Ten changed the song back the following year. They were like, they must have been tired of getting yelled at for the newer version of the song, so they switched it back. That's one of my favorite commercials that they show, though, is that one.
I didn't have us talking about commercials of the Reds and Big Ten football and everything on this. What we do have to talk about, though, on today's show is a little bit about college football. It's been Black Sunday or something. I don't really know. There was some interesting stuff, especially surrounding Kentucky over the weekend. We'll talk about that. Yes, we can talk a little bit about that. Some of the jobs that have been filled, some of the jobs that are still open. We'll discuss that. Leroy's hockey team is in the news for
all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons.
And not the wrong reasons that you think that they're usually in trouble for, because they just seem to find trouble is over these last couple of years. This time it's Zach Wilson would be proud. So we'll be talking about that coming up. We'll have logos. We'll have play clock. We'll have drivers. We'll have our picks of the week. But first off, Leroy, you know what the old saying is, right?
If something's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, that is one of the old sayings, yes. But it's one of my go-tos. There is the old, if a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, a broken clock is right twice a day. And why am I bringing that up, Leroy? Do you know?
Did I actually win this week for once?
For the first time all season that we were competing, Leroy won last week 5-4. We both had awful weeks.
Oh man, 5-4.
You won 5-4. Leroy, you correctly predicted Kentucky to upset Louisville. I give you props there. You were right in predicting Northwestern to beat Illinois. You were the homer pick added and helped out there. Yep. We both were right with Western. I was the homer in predicting the Bengals, even though in my heart of hearts I knew that they weren't going to win. You got the point there. We both went with the Vikings over the Bears in what might have been the worst football game I've ever seen. And I watched the Bengals Steelers the day prior. The Bears won that game somehow. Utah State and New Mexico. I predicted Utah State to win. I got that one right. I somehow ended up at the last second, pulled out Alabama to beat Auburn. You predicted Auburn, Leroy. And then we both went with Michigan. I know. What a wild. Let's come back to that here in a few minutes because I think it's a wild sequence. And then Lions, we both predicted them to beat the Packers, and in a kind of surprising old-fashioned butt kicking. The Packers destroyed the Lions on Thanksgiving.
Why can't the Lions play? Why can't the Lions play football on Thanksgiving?
I don't know. They're still in first place in that division, though, in 8-3, so they still can talk some smack. The lower level. I just want to talk a little bit about that Auburn Alabama game because I kind of because I was in because Kentucky was the early game, so it was at noon. They played the best rivalry in college sports was at noon, and it was Kentucky versus Louisville, not some other schmucks that were playing at noon.
Yeah.
So I was really excited.
The real game, right?
Yeah, Kentucky-Louisville is a better overall rivalry than Ohio State-Michigan. I'll go to my grave and say that because here, 15 seconds. 15, that's all I get. Because Kentucky-Louisville is across all sports. Ohio State-Michigan, when they play in basketball, it means nothing. Whereas Ohio State in Michigan in football, it means everything. But across the other sports, it doesn't mean as much. And Kentucky-Louisville, football means a lot. Basketball means a lot. Baseball means a lot. Hell, even soccer means a lot. So that's why I say. But again, there you go. 15 seconds. That's all it took. So I was in that, and you know this, when you have a big win, you're kind of in that, yeah. So it's like the game after you're paying attention to, but you're not really, because you're like checking social media, you're like reading all the happy fan tweets and so on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes. But then I really started watching in the second half, and it was one of those things that like, I was just waiting the entire time for Alabama to kind of go, oh, Auburn. Okay. And then next thing you know, it's a 15-point game.
Right.
And it never happened. And then Auburn muffs the punt, and it gets to a 4th and goal from the 33, wasn't it?
Yeah.
34. And I love it. My dad went into his room because we were sitting in our living room at my parents' house, and he went in to like use the restroom or something. And I just go, oh my, what? And he comes running out and sees it. I'm like, I don't know what I just saw. You know, they complete the Hail Mary and Alabama wins the game.
Somebody put together a whole 20-minute montage of just Auburn fan reactions to that play and to just
surrender cobras everywhere.
That whole sequence and the amount of
surrender cobras.
Yes, the amount of that was very disheartening. I mean, because you know, I don't have a dog in the fight, right? I mean,
I don't either.
You know, my team had already won. But it was just one of those things where it was like, oh my goodness, you feel for them because anytime you can have a lead like that and then just, you know, you can't put your foot to the throat any more than what they were doing. And then just to have it slip away off of stupid things that kills. And trust me, I'm a Bears fan. I know a lot about stupid things. So
we aren't talking about the NFL today. We've had enough sadness in that round. I guess you didn't really have sadness on Monday, but yet it was still sadness.
Oh, it was sad.
it was pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Listen, and I'll say it again. The Bears have had 8 turnover, like eight, like the defense has caused 8 turnovers in the last 2 games and have like 7 points to show for it out of those. Awful, just awful. I want to fire our offensive coordinator into the sun.
Tell us how you really feel. College coaches, though, since the college football regular season has ended, a decent amount of firings and already had some hirings as well. Texas A&M fired Jimbo Fisher and gave him $357 million pretty much. I mean, it was like $81 million. Like, can you imagine, like, if your boss came in tomorrow and said, Leroy, we're going to have to let you go. Here's $81 million.
If he gave me like $81,000, I'd be like, peace.
Let's be real. If he gave you 81 cents, you'd be peace. Still, it's just that I always find buyouts hilarious. Yes, Paul, we were disappointed. You just missed some great conversation that we had as we opened up talking about old commercials that we like to talk about and so on. Texas A&M, though, fires Jimbo and hires Mike Elko, who was Duke's coach. Now, the biggest part about that is Saturday night after the Auburn-Alabama game, I'm sitting on the couch watching, and 24/7 or Rivals or something out of Texas A&M reports Mark Stoops is nearing becoming the next head coach at Texas A&M.
Yes.
And it was almost like it's a done deal. And I remember telling my dad, and we're like, whoa. And it was like really, really close. And it just kept going on and on and on throughout the evening. And I was expecting this to be one of these things. And we, if you've been a fan of this, you've seen it. You wake up the next morning, you get the announcement, Texas A&M posts it, and then it's just like, well, here we go. Let's start the coaching search. So I was already starting to read into some of the guys, and I felt like this was going to be the next coach of Kentucky and so on. But then I'm getting ready to go to bed. And you know that thing, Leroy, where you are laying down in bed and you put the phone away and you're like laying there for 5 minutes and it's just like, well, I should probably check it one more time. And that's what I did. I rolled over and I checked it. And in like the 5-minute period that I'd been laying there not looking at my phone is when the news broke that he was coming back. And it was just really funny because now everybody's like, what? And it just turned out to be a really wild 24 hours of Kentucky football, from beating Louisville to thinking you're losing Mark Stoops, your head football coach, to now him coming back. It was wild. Now
that the dust has settled and everything's kind of cleared up, how close was he to going to?
I think that no one really knows. I think it was close. But I think there are reasons as to why he didn't. I think part of it is Kentucky is similar to Northwestern in the realm of if David Braun, or whatever his name is, Braun, if he goes 8-4 every single season, they'll love him at Northwestern.
Yeah, well, Mr. Coach of the Year in the Big Ten is already well loved. Yeah. He got consensus,
and he went 7-5.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the thing. You go 8-4 Texas A&M, you're fired.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason. Now,
we've had this conversation before about different levels of what we expect from different programs. UK basketball versus
Northwestern basketball.
Northwestern basketball is very, very different.
I mean, there is not a Northwestern fan in the world that wouldn't want what John Calipari has done at Kentucky.
Yeah.
And Kentucky fans, I mean, John Calipari in the last couple of years his record is this. He's, had a couple of tournament wins, had some losses. He was the 2 seed. Northwestern fans would throw parties in the street over that. And Kentucky fans want Calipari fired in some instances. Not anymore because they just won last night, but still.
If Northwestern makes it to the tournament for 10 years straight and gets eliminated in the first round every single one of those years, that man has a statue outside of Ryan's, he's enamored, right? If Kentucky makes it to the tournament every year and loses in that first or second round every year, there's going to start being some questions asked.
You don't even make it 10 years. And it's just interesting with the expectations with all of that.
That just cracks me up about that. Every time we talk about it, I just get such a kick out of that.
Michigan State fired Mel Tucker. If you know. We don't need to talk about what happened there. They hired Jonathan Smith, who was Oregon State's coach. Kind of an interesting hire. He's kind of been a West Coast guy.
Yeah, but I think he saw the writing on the wall for the program out there that they were going to have a couple down years.
And that's, the biggest thing is they don't have a home.
Right. Can make the jump to Michigan State where, you know what? The expectations, listen, it's Lil Bro. And I know Michigan State fans wouldn't like me saying that, but they are. They're Lil Bro. And the expectations nearly aren't that high. Plus, you've got a team that's slowly on the rise. I mean, Michigan State is getting better. So it's interesting to see how that has developed as far as what's going on with that. Yeah.
Mississippi State fired Zach Arnett after like 8 games. He had such the impossible job of being hired after Mike Leach passed away. Yeah. I was surprised they fired him as fast as they did, but they hired Jeff Lebby, who is Oklahoma's offensive coordinator. And then I found it interesting. Did you see the video of when he arrived, that the fans met him at the airport and carried him in the AD from the plane to their car?
What?
It's like you'd have thought that they announced at Mississippi State that they hired
Elvis.
Nick Saban. It was just it was weird. Northwestern, is that how you say it? Northwestern. They obviously. We're just gonna say David Braun was given the job. Pretty much is that we've talked about that before.
They removed the interim title. He takes Northwestern from 1-11 to 7-5, gets them to a bowl game. He wins consensus Big Ten Coach of the Year unanimously from all the other Big Ten coaches. He was named Big Ten Coach of the Year. What he's done with that program has been fantastic. He's great on the field. We're kind of curious to see how he does in the offseason. He's got 28 scholarships positions to fill. And you know as well as I do, in this day and age of the transfer portal, and he's got some work to do. He's definitely got some work to do in this offseason.
Dino Babers was fired at Syracuse. They hired Fran Brown, who is a assistant coach at Georgia. Makes sense. You're getting a guy from the best program in college football right now in Georgia, hiring assistant there. Oregon State promoted Trent Bray, who is their defensive coordinator.
Oh, okay.
I know Trent Bray could join the podcast right now, and Leroy, neither one of us would know who the hell he was.
No.
When I heard that name, it was kind of one of those things I was like, who? Who the hell?
Sure.
But then again,
okay.
Prior to this year, if I would have, 1 year ago today, if I would have told you that David Braun would be the head coach at Northwestern right now, you'd probably have said, who?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who?
Well, I know who he is just simply because of my father-in-law being up there and talking at great lengths about him. But he was slated to be DC. I mean, he was only supposed to be the defensive coordinator. That's all they got him for. And boy, what a change of events.
The other open jobs that still haven't had hires officially yet, Boise State fired Andy Avalos, I think is how you say his name. He went something like 24-12, but it just shows you how Boise State's expectations are a lot higher than other places.
Yep.
Indiana gave Tom Allen, I think, $31 million to go away, but I think they ended up agreeing that down to, I think, $16 million, which I always find interesting. If you're Tom Allen, why? I think it was 24 that they brought down to 18. And I get that $18 million is still a ton of money, but what?
But
why are you you get fired? Wouldn't you want every dime you're supposed to get? That's why you sign the contract.
What are Indiana's expectations though every year? What is a good season for Indiana football?
8-4.
I mean, I guess it's going to be easier next year without the divisions, right? They're not stuck playing, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State every single year. But when the dust settled, Northwestern was the 5th best team in the Big Ten this year. Right behind. I mean, that's ridiculous. Considering what the Big Ten is like. Just found it fascinating because it's just so bizarre. It really is.
Do you want me to give my opinion on that?
No, I don't. I don't care about your opinion at all.
Houston fired Dana Holgerson. I know they're down to 3 names right now, supposedly. I'll always love. I read almost all the stories of these are the guys that will get hired. I heard Indiana, somebody floated John Gruden, which I just find funny of thinking that John Gruden would actually go there. New Mexico fired their coach. I know you're deeply entrenched on who could want the New Mexico coaching job. Got any predictions as to who gets hired at New Mexico?
Not even close.
Could you have named the head coach at New Mexico prior to him getting fired?
Absolutely not.
Danny Gonzalez. He got fired. San Diego State, Brady Hoke retired.
Yeah.
Louisiana Monroe fired Terry Bowden, which was maybe a little bit surprising. That's a really tough place to win. UTEP fired their coach, Dana Dimmel. Duke obviously is looking for a job because Mike Elko left for another one. And then MTSU finally fired Rick Stockstill after almost 20 years.
Yeah.
He just kind of done that here. Paul asks, the Chargers fire their coach and move Kellen Moore up, or should he go to Boise State? Here's my prediction, Paul. I think they hire his brother, who is Missouri's offensive coordinator right now. So they get the Moore name, but I think Kellen Moore is going to be an NFL head coach sooner. And I think the one job he would take in college is probably Boise State for obvious reasons. But I still think his brother will be the guy at Boise State. And I don't obviously have any inside information.
Do you know who shocked me who got a job? Bobby Petrino Arkansas offensive coordinator. Bobby, that's former WKU head coach Bobby Petrino to you, Sam Gormley.
Former Arkansas head coach too, Bobby Petrino. It's just done this. Forrest says MTSU host him, been there all that time. Not like they should be expected to win that much being in Conference USA. Forrest, since we are both the fans of the rival of MTSU, he should have been fired. He should. They needed somebody else in there. He'd been there a long time. With that, Justin asks, where does Bill Belichick go? I think this is it for Bill.
Yeah, he had a good run.
John, who replaces Frank Reich? That to me is going to be the job that they get because I don't know why you'd want to go there.
I don't know who would want that. They've gone through 3 coaches in like 2 years. I don't understand what would make somebody want to go there simply because you've got such a short leash.
Liberty's going to run Conference USA for years to come. I hope not, Forrest. I'm all in on the Tops taking over Conference USA with that. But I don't know. It's just I have no idea who takes over, but I really do for the Frank Reich at the Panthers. But I do think that this will be it for Bill Belichick after this. But I always love
he looks tired.
And I think John brings up the good point too with the Panthers is no first rounder. And I think the jury's out right now on Bryce Young.
But again, I don't understand listen, these coaches aren't stupid. Yes, it's an NFL job, but like, how are you even expected to be able to do what you needed to do when you have such a short leash holding you down? Like, I don't understand. I'm not a big fan of the 10 months and he's gone. No, we're not. You're late, Dan. You already missed the Coors sponsorship. Coors left me because they were afraid of the shiny bald spot on my head. So we're to Miller Lite this week. Hold on. There we go. We're Miller Lite this week.
That cool, refreshing drink, right?
Cool and refreshing. And $3 at the Casey's.
So are they a sponsor now too?
I'm sorry. $3 at the local gas station that is near my house.
I was gonna say you're getting all this sponsorship money, and I haven't seen a dime from it. My goodness. The other big story, I don't know, big story's the right word. Dr. Pepper with the logo. Yes, obviously Dr. Pepper with the logo facing out. Dr. Pepper, that cool and refreshing drink. Right, there we go. Gotta hit up with one of those. Leroy needs to be sponsored by Mr. Clean. You do kind of look like him. Not really.
Thanks, John.
I think he's dead too.
Mr. Clean?
Yeah, the guy who
portrayed him?
Like, yes, or he was based on, died like 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh.
R.I.P. Sorry to break that to you. I know that's only the important information. You know who's not dead? Connor Bedard's mom.
Oh, my God. Oh, yes. This will be a fun conversation. Now, what do you know about listen, and I can ask you this because you don't follow any hockey pages on Facebook, do you?
I followed the Blue Jackets. Number 1 Blue Jackets fan right here.
Right. But that's it. You don't really follow a whole lot of the other pages, do you?
No, why would I?
Okay. So I want to ask you.
I'm a sports fan.
Correct. I want to ask you, because you don't follow a lot of hockey pages, what do you know about this scenario? What do you know about this situation? Because I know what I know, but I'm on all the hockey pages, so I want to know what you know being an outsider.
So, long story short, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
So Connor Bedard is the young star for the Blackhawks, right? Number 1 overall pick or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
And one of his teammates slept allegedly with his mom and then got released.
Yes.
And they say not because he slept with his mom, but everyone thinks, yes, it's because you slept with the rookie phenom.
So the veteran that they brought in to be the father figure basically is accused of sleeping with the rookie phenom's mom. It would be like if Anthony Richardson and I'm trying to think of like and
Gardner Minshew.
Right. But no, it's Richardson and who's their Jonathan Taylor. Okay, it would be like if Jonathan Taylor slept with Anthony Richardson's mom. You got the veteran that's sleeping with the mother, and it's like, so here's what really happened, if anybody cares, or what we know officially.
We don't need details like what positions and all that.
No,
I don't really know what we've seen what pops up on your computer, so we don't need like the video of it. I'm sure you've got that. You could pull out any of our moms. Let's be honest. Yeah.
It was a joke, John. Good grief. I'm going to hold that sarcasm sign up again. Anyway, so 7 days ago now, they were at some like employee corporate like get together, and alcohol was involved, and he did something with another employee. Now, what it was, nobody knows. Could have been assault. Could have been.
Who? This is sleeping with the mom guy?
Yes. Corey Perry is the guy that is being accused of or that got fired, right? So they do the investigation right away. They pull him off the team. They send him home. They do the investigation. And during that time, a page called Hockey Insider puts out this joke thing that they got from TSN Canada that said that Corey Perry slept with Connor Bedard's mom. The internet grabbed it and ran with it. I'd never seen something get posted that blew up. Maybe Titanic when the submarine blew up. That's probably about as close as I've seen as far as just something blow up. But there was no truth to it, to the point where like our general manager for the Blackhawks had to come out and be like, okay, Corey Perry has been cut from the team, but it does not involve another player or another player's family or anything like that. I really wish he would have just come out and been like, Corey Perry did not blank Connor Bedard's mom. That did not happen. But it doesn't matter. He
could have blanked her. He could have hugged her. He could have given her a high five. Or
you don't want me to be explicit on this show, so I'm not being explicit. But
you've already done enough explicit things on this show with that darn picture.
But it's just one of those things. It was a finger. It was just one of those things where it was like, when you look at this, there's a couple of things that are really interesting about this. You want to keep the victim, they're keeping the victim safe by not saying who it is. But at the same time, days of social media and the days of internet, everybody wants to know what happened. Everybody wants to know every juicy detail of what happened. And the Blackhawks just aren't releasing it. Now, whether they can or can't, I don't know. But apparently, legally, they're not allowed to talk about what actually took place, at least not yet. So all that's doing is creating a whole lot more speculation about what actually occurred, what took place, and whether or not his firing, because let's face it, that's what it was, whether his firing was justified. But it really creates interesting scenarios about, social media and the impact that social media has on these kind of situations and cases. And it's really interesting moving forward on how this changes things as far as the impact that social media has on big time stories like this.
Yeah, it was a story I wasn't expecting to read today. So, sleeping with moms, only on From the Pressbox, right?
That's right.
Sponsored by
Miller Lite, because they said it was alcohol fueled, so we're going with Miller Lite.
Well, shouldn't that be like a different, like, I feel like that's like PBR.
Well, and the thing is they said like he violated his contract.
Yes, he violated the mom.
He violated his contract, but he also violated team rules. And it's interesting that I just when you think,
is that a team rule?
Sleeping with the family members?
Do they have that written on the?
But it's like the Seinfeld episode where George gets caught sleeping with the maid, and he's like, "Is that illegal? Is that wrong?" I gotta plead ignorance on this. I don't see how that's. I didn't realize that was a big deal.
Listen, you never really know with that, but it was an interesting story, say the less, right? I think that's the only way to put it, right?
I just laughed because Kyle Davidson, who's the Blackhawks GM, just got done, he's brand new because they fired everybody after the whole Kyle Beach thing. So there's nobody connected with the Kyle Beach situation at all. And right away, within the first 2 months of you taking of the season starting, you already embroiled in your own scandal that happened. And he looked more tired than Obama did after they found Osama. He looked exhausted up there on that podium, just
Poor guy. Oh man, it's weird. What's wrong? But what that song means, right? I mean only one thing, Leroy.
Yeah, you're all muffled, but I gotcha.
I'm all muffled.
There you go. Now you're better.
Interesting. I think it doesn't like it when I start playing the song. I think it gets a little upset. But you know what this song means? I don't think I need to really talk over this song. It can mean only one thing. It's time for Leroy's Logos. Everyone's favorite song. There you go. Yep, L's down. L's down after Kentucky beat Louisville. It can mean only one thing. I've got 3 college logos. Leroy's to tell me what college it is. And then of those 3, there is a theme per said logos. Easy enough, right? Leroy,
sure,
hitting
yeah.
392. 392 is your record. Would you like uno, dos, or tres first?
All right.
He'll go number 3. So the red box in the middle, you'll see, is some editing work because it traditionally says the letters of the school that it is, but if it was on there, it would make it way too easy for you. It would be to the point where it's not fun. So I'll tell you that. If that helps.
What are the colors of the letters?
Black. The colors of the letters don't help you anything. It's black with white.
Okay.
You see the colors that would help you on this.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you this, Daniel is not right, Leroy.
Thank you. Betty Crocker.
Leroy, what is this? School.
I'm going with Montana State.
Is that your final answer?
Wrong, but yes.
You're not far off. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit it twice. South Dakota.
Really?
Not far. Not far off. I give you props for that. That's the South Dakota Coyotes. They have Let's see.
Everybody knows South Dakota State, but nobody knows South Dakota.
Interesting. Miller Lite with a late logo facing out. Leroy, would you like
only for you, Dan.
Would you like 1 or 2? 2.
The Jackrabbits.
The Jackrabbits. Where are the Jackrabbits? It's pretty good music, though, if I do have to say so myself. Especially for thinking music.
He plays it for me every time I turn on the StreamYard before we get going. It's the first thing I get blasted with. I'm going to go with North Dakota. That's what I'm going to go with, North Dakota.
North Dakota. That is incorrect.
They are the Jackrabbits, though.
They are the Jackrabbits, but I thought you said everybody knows South Dakota State. Sporus gets that point there. Paul guessed Wyoming State. John guessed the Arizona Speed Bunnies, which I do like. Oh, I thought everybody knew that one, Leroy. How about door number 1? Door number 1. This is...
Yeah, me too, Paul. Me too.
The one. Come on. You should... This is one you should get.
I know. It's Conference USA. It's the Roadrunners. But is it UTSA or is it UTEP?
I'll tell you this. Justin is incorrect.
Thank you.
And Megan doesn't bring you much help here either, but I'll do that.
I'll go with UTEP, University of Texas El Paso.
It is
the other one?
UTSA.
Damn.
Oh, Forrest is able to get that one right. Texas, San Antonio. Okay, Leroy. You've got South Dakota State, and UTSA. What is the theme for this week's episode of Leroy's Logos?
First of all, I just want to say that was an embarrassing performance today from schools. Two of the three that I should have gotten right, and I'm very, very.
I love you. And the funny thing is that this might set a record for you saying the right school at the wrong time. Like you guessed, you were down to a 50-50 shot on UTSA.
Yeah.
Or let's see here. My comments are losing. Paul is calling out. He's saying Googling.
Very frustrated. Very frustrated with myself.
This is too generic. Too generic.
No.
The South Dakota Coyotes, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, and the Roadrunners of UTSA. Leroy, what's the theme? Come on, you can do this.
Are they all teams that played volleyball against WKU?
I don't believe that's not the theme.
Okay.
Do you have a second? Oh, come on. I thought you would get this. Let me see if a commenter has gotten it. Oh, look at Daniel.
Oh.
Looney Tunes is the theme. Coyotes.
Yeah.
Roadrunners.
And rabbits.
It's Bugs Bunny's not technically a jackrabbit, but rabbit, because there is no rabbits. So it is Looney Tunes. How about Daniel pulling out the theme there?
Good job, that at least makes me feel good.
Fast Animals there, and they're Paul Lonely Tunes, but I think autocorrect got him there. Okay, so sorry, Leroy.
I'm more upset myself this week than I have been in previous weeks because those were all logos I absolutely should have, at least other than the Coyotes. Those were both of those I should have gotten. I'm upset with myself.
And see the South Dakota one of here. I should have saved the actual logo because, and I'll pull this up, and I feel like there would have been a 100% chance you would have gotten it if I wouldn't have. Well, of course, now my computer doesn't want to load.
I can look.
Well, here, I'm going to pull it up too so I can get it on the screen as well.
Yeah.
And do it that way. And that was kind of the thing here of, it was like, to me, it's just not, it was
San Diego.
Oh, would that have been your guess?
No. I would have gotten it, I think.
Yeah, so here it was. So that was it with my knockoff Photoshop work, and that's what it was with it. And I felt like that was making it, and apparently I should have probably given it to you because it was a struggle other than that, but it still does not go out. Paul says, I suck at logos and I really thought I'd be good.
Yeah,
that's what everybody thinks.
I was very frustrated with myself today, man. Very frustrated with myself.
Well, at least it wasn't on me this week. I was happy with my Looney Tunes theme.
Yeah, that was good.
How about some play clock?
Yes, please.
Would you like to ask or answer first?
I will ask first.
Okay. Why are you so big? Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that made it so big. Okay. You said you're asking first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. Okay, there we go. I'm ready.
So I've kind of got a double question, but you can answer it all in one. Andre Dawson has requested that he have a Cubs hat on instead of the Expos hat in the Hall of Fame. Should players be allowed to pick what hat they wear in the Hall of Fame? And are there any other players you can think? Shut up, Tyler. Are there any other players you can think of that should have a different hat on in the Hall of Fame? Y'all are relentless tonight, man. Good grief.
Sorry. Yeah, players should be able to choose. Why not? I mean, they're the Hall of Fame. They're the ones getting inducted. Pick whatever team. And I thought that was kind of the rule, is that you got to pick the team that you wanted. Because I know that Junior picked the Mariners instead of over the Reds, which he should have because his best years were with the Mariners. And off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone. But then again, I'm really bad about knowing like which, because to me, it's what you think as a player you should be recognized for. And for the most part, that'll be the years that you had your most success and so on. So I don't do it. I guess Paul has a decent one there.
Yes, Paul.
Nolan Ryan should have Texas. But again, it should be up to the player.
What hat is Pete Rose wearing?
The hat of embarrassment. See, you ask a Reds fan 30 years older than me, and you'd have made them really mad. But for me,
right.
I've known Pete Rose as being the guy that bet on baseball my entire life. So
yeah,
it's.
I don't know. I just thought they made Andre wear an Expos hat because they don't have. I mean, they hardly have anybody in there that's wearing Expos hats. I mean, what, like Vladimir Guerrero? Maybe no. Didn't he wear Angels?
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Paul, do you know the answer to that? What hat Vladdy's wearing?
I think of him as an Expo.
Yeah, I do too.
But that doesn't mean anything either. While Paul thinks about that, Leroy, today, Dane Brugler, who is from The Athletic, he's their draft guy, released his first mock draft. He's really good at his stuff. He always releases what he calls the Beast, which is phenomenal. The amount of work that he puts into every draft prospect and so on. In his first mock draft, I think the Bears were picking first and third. I think it's based off of the current order.
Right.
He made a rule, no trades. So no trades were allowed, obviously, except for the ones that have already happened.
We got the first and the third.
First and the third pick. And he picked Caleb Williams and Joe Alt. Joe Alt is the left tackle from Notre Dame. If that was what happened and the draft was today, and that's who the Chicago Bears came up with, Leroy, how would you feel?
Pretty agitated. And listen, I'm not a Justin Fields guy, but I'd be pretty agitated. I really hope they go for Marvin Harrison Jr. and the guy from Penn State, the tackle I'm gonna butcher his name, Olatulu or whatever his name is. But those are the two guys that I really hope they go for. They need some offensive line and they need some better wide receivers to give Fields a little bit of help. Listen, if they go Caleb Williams, I mean, I won't be as upset as when they drafted Justin Fields, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's better options that we can get to be able to shore up that offense and shore up that defense rather than starting over at quarterback yet again. And it's nothing against Caleb. I'm tired of it.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
All right. The NFL announced their list, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. The NFL came out with their new list of Hall of Famers that are on the final list, which brings me back to my age-old question. Devin Hester, does he belong in the NFL Hall of Fame?
Wow. Yes. What is the clock moving on your screen? It's not moving on my screen, but it's interesting. It says it's playing, but it's kind of done on my screen. So I'll keep talking and go. Okay. And when it's done, it's done. That's odd. I don't know what happened to our clock, but still, yes, I think Devin Hester, he's the greatest return man of all time. So I think he absolutely deserves to be in electric moments that he has. I mean, I think didn't he had a big return in the Super Bowl, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely think, and like Forrest said, the best returner of all time deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So he would get my vote. Not that I have a vote, but Willie Anderson should also be in, and so should Ken Henderson.
Yeah. Yes.
So, but I'm not gonna argue about that. Yeah, and I think you're putting him in as a returner.
Oh,
you're not
yeah.
putting him in as a wide receiver.
No,
Absolutely,
he was
not.
awful
Absolutely.
as a wide receiver.
Leroy, question for you, kind of tying into my last one. Will Justin Fields be the Bears quarterback next season?
You got coin? Because I'll just flip the coin and tell you the answer from there. No, I think Poles is all right with Fields. I know most people aren't, but I really don't see them making the switch. This has been the big year that we were talking about at the beginning of this year. Over this was a decision year, but I think there's so many other places where you can shore up that offense and shore up that offensive line and the defense a little bit, where you can make Fields better simply by giving him better pieces around him. So I'm going to say they keep him.
Interesting. John's asked us, I know, a couple of times about Aaron Rodgers here. This is just for the both of us. We won't talk about it. I mean, we aren't going to put a clock on it. The Aaron Rodgers, he's back from the Achilles. Do you buy that? I mean, it has to be something, because the NFL, you can't lie about those things.
The littlest tear of all time.
I don't know. I don't know. And I agree, Paul, that it was one of the worst football games I've ever seen. And I've watched some bad high school football.
Horrible. I was screaming at the TV. I was so annoyed. I watched hockey because the Hawks were playing. I watched hockey over that. I mean, wrestling was on. There was a lot that was going on that night. I mean, it was a trash football game. And I'm tired. I'm tired of watching trash football. I feel like I've been watching trash football for 15 years, man. That tear. And the thing is I just want to know why bring him back. I mean, yeah, the Jets are mathematically still in the playoff hunt, but let's be real here.
It's just like if Joe Burrow in 3 weeks somehow could come back. Like, what's the point?
Do you want him coming back? There's no.
No. I'm literally wrapping him in bubble wrap and saying I'll see you week 1.
Yeah, go home, recuperate, get better, get stronger, and we'll see you back here next season. I just don't see the point of him coming back this year.
Yeah,
I get it. Listen, I get it. You want to play. No athlete wants to stop. I mean, good grief. Jeremy Yeager is playing hockey at the age of 55. Okay, but let's be real here. I mean, I don't know why the rush back for a Jets team that is going to miss the playoffs in the first place. I just don't get it.
This is probably what I should ask you as one of my play clock segments. I don't know that I appreciated you. I made a nice comment in one of the groups on our good friend Mike Williams' post. I don't know if Mike made the post, but he appreciated it.
I will laugh at all of those.
That I said that Iowa wouldn't finish 6-6 in the Big Ten, and I stand by that.
I don't know how you can say that with the defense that they have. Yeah, they have no offense, but listen,
they can't score.
We're not gonna come to an agreement on this. You hate the Big Ten.
I do not hate the Big Ten.
The SEC is overrated, so I don't understand why.
Vanderbilt would go 7-5 in the SEC.
Top 3 teams are very
Kentucky
very good.
would have won the SEC. It would have won the Big Ten.
Okay. Your top 3 teams are really, really good, and the rest of them are mediocre. It's the same thing with the Big Ten.
I think this is a good summer topic. SEC versus.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna get
yes, absolutely. But their defense is elite, and that's just it. Their
offense is atrocious.
I don't. And saying that, listen, I know you're going to call this a homer statement. Northwestern missed that game, that Iowa game, by a field goal. They were 1 field goal away from getting their butts kicked by Michigan this weekend. 1 field goal away.
Was it at the 10-7 game?
Yes, the game that was at Wrigley Field. The awful game that took place at Wrigley Field between Iowa and Northwestern. But yeah, like that's how bad the Big Ten. And listen, I love Northwestern, But let's face it, the Big Ten West is awful. Everyone knows it. I mean, they really are. But it's not like the SEC West is all that good.
Yeah, Paul's got a point here too. TCU was so good last year, and then they played Georgia, and smoked is probably being a very nice way of putting it, Paul. That was pure and utter annihilation that Georgia put into TCU, and I don't think anybody, even the most homer of homer Georgia fans, would have never thought they'd have won that game by 60.
Well, and Michigan sees this as their revenge tour, right? Michigan sees this as their second chance to. And listen,
did you know Harbaugh died? Because that's what it feels like. Like the dang interim, whose name I don't remember, but he always gets up there and he that one's for you, Coach Harbaugh.
That was for you. And I love you, man.
Like, did Jim Harbaugh die and I just missed it? I don't know. You have your drivers.
And again, I laugh at these teams that are all like, well, this year's going to be different. We're going to do something different this year. No, you're not. No, you're not.
He's a tool. I think that's.
But I will say, out of teams that went 1-11 last year, all the focus was on Colorado, and they finished with one of the worst records of teams that went 1-11 last year. So, boom.
Chase, of course, writes in. Well, of course, Chase knows to pop in right when Leroy's getting ready for his drivers. RFK, isn't RFK been dead for like a long time, Leroy?
Yes.
How is he bringing back somebody, David Reagan?
Listen, I know you don't care about this, but I have to laugh. NASCAR fans used to give IndyCar fans a hard time all the time because some of their races are on Peacock. Well, Amazon Prime just announced that they're carrying 5 NASCAR races this year. And we're all like, oh, well, look at that. Now who's got their races on a streaming service? We only have 2. Y'all have 5. So I laughed pretty hard at that one.
You're going to get Chase mad at you now. You got your drivers ready?
I do.
Yeah, Chase isn't happy. Pay your dang Amazon bill. It's not that expensive. You're a student too, Chase. You can get it for cheaper.
1, 2, or 3, Sam?
Go in reverse.
Go in reverse? All right.
Okay, I've turned my comments off. Oh, wait, here, let me go. I've got 3 new comments popping up here really quick. So
all right,
before you pop it up there.
Check them really quick.
Peacock got the IndyCar. Yep. Chase needs an answer. I don't think anybody cares about David Reagan.
I'm excited for him. I think he's going to do all right there. I think he's going to do all right.
He says he can win. But Chase, that's Chase's favorite NASCAR driver.
Are you ready?
I was. Hey, I'm full screen, so I can't see. Oh, wait. I got to add it. Come on. Okay. Ooh, he looks familiar. Is that I'm probably really wrong on this. Is that Chase Elliott? NASCAR? NASCAR's my guess. But is that Chase Elliott?
NASCAR's your guess?
Yes.
That is not Chase Elliott. No. That is.
Does he kind of look like that?
He does. He does look a little bit like him. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have no idea.
That's Charles Leclerc, F1. Forrest got F1 right. John said Indy. John was wrong, but yeah, Forrest said F1, and Forrest got F1 correct. I know Chase, and he forgot. So you know what? It was good enough to use, wasn't it?
So I can't. You and your darn logos. Yeah, Paul, I agree. No clue. Well, at least it wasn't last week where you used the guy who's run one NASCAR race, but he's an F1 guy, and you wouldn't have given me my F1 point.
I know. That's driver 2.
Is that Victor Crumb? Glad you know who that is. I thought that was pretty
No,
good.
It's not Victor Crumb.
That says driver 1. I said go in reverse order. Cheater.
It loaded weird.
I'm saying he is for Victor Crumb. That is a Quidditch player.
Player.
He dates Hermione Granger. Gosh, I have no idea. NASCAR, but I'm probably wrong.
for 2. That's the IndyCar driver. That is Linus Lundqvist. He's the newest driver for Chip Ganassi Racing this year.
So Indy, look at that. They got that.
Boys, John, I grabbed logos. I grabbed shirts without logos, without sponsors, just because otherwise, what's the fun in that? I can show you a picture of him.
I can't use context clues then.
Yeah, that's the point.
Like here, I get a logo, and it says Goodyear. You got kind of a weird nose.
Shut up, Chase.
That style of sunglasses can only be worn by a NASCAR driver.
Is that the rules?
Yes, it is.
I think Army guys have those too. Those are SRX, aren't they? I gotta look closely and see.
Yeah, who does name their kid Linus?
It's Linus, not even Linus. It's Linus, because he's like Swedish.
And yes, Chase, I know you wear those same kind of sunglasses, which is part of the reason why I said it. But we're all in agreement in NASCAR in the comments.
It is. And Chase, who is that? The guy who we've been talking about. That's David
Cole
Reagan
Custer
right there.
Oh, really? That's David Reagan. I had no idea.
Old picture of David Reagan, but yes, that's David Reagan.
Interesting. What are the odds of that?
Well,
is that why you put him in there? Because he was in.
Yeah, he made big news today. That's why.
That's why you dropped him in there. Interesting. Okay, so I got 1 out of 3 today. How about some picks?
Let's do it.
The pick contest. Leroy picked up his first win since week number 1 last week. But as a reminder, week number 1 was the week that he was the only one that had the opportunity to get a point because his football team hadn't started playing yet, so I didn't even have a chance, and he got the game correct. So he got 1-0 in that point. But the overall standings, if my computer will load,
and let's be real, it was an awful week for both Sam and me.
It was 82 for myself, 66 for Leroy. Still plenty of time for Leroy to come back, so you never really know. Leroy and I agreed that the Bears are on bye this week, and
we had a
the
whole
Bengals game
about this before we started.
Yes, the Bengals are going to lose. They play the Jags.
I've got like 6 guys on bye this week for fantasy, Sam.
I've got to check my fantasy team. I've had a rough couple of weeks in fantasy, so I'm in the injuries have caught up. So we've decided that there's 10 conference championship games. We usually like to do 10 picks a week, so let's just pick all 10 of the conference championship games, Leroy. All righty. Let's open it up, and Leroy, you get to go first, and we're going to start, and these are in order as far as the games that will be played, at least according to this. Excuse me, Paul Reeves. Uncalled for. Uncalled for.
You got no issue when they're insulting me, but when they insult you, you're like, oh, I got to put a stop to that.
Because usually when it's you, it's the truth.
Well, clearly he's pointing out that you're bad at fantasy football.
New Mexico State at Liberty. Leroy, are you going with New Mexico State or are you going with Liberty?
I'm jumping, Paul. I'm jumping on the Liberty hype train. Let's go Liberty.
I agree. I'm picking Liberty. Forrest is with us and picking Liberty as well.
Big shout out to James Madison for making a bowl game this year.
Yes, because there weren't enough eligible teams, so they get to by doing it. Oregon and Washington play in Vegas, I do believe. This was a great game when they played a couple of weeks ago.
Who came out on top?
And Washington won then. So because of that, I'll pick Oregon this time.
And I'll go with Washington for the sweep.
And that's one of those. And Forrest agrees with revenge for Bo Nix and company. Yeah. Leroy, Oklahoma.
That surprised me.
Oklahoma State takes on Texas in the Big 12 championship.
Do the horns? Do the.
Are you doing horns up or horns down?
Horns up. Let's go Texas.
Texas was my pick to win the Big 12 back in August, and they're going to be my pick now. You got to stick with the guns, and I'm going to pick Texas to defeat Oklahoma State.
Was I wrong about TCU? Holy cow, did they fall apart this year?
They did.
Oh, my goodness.
They did.
Yikes.
Miami, Ohio, and Toledo play.
The Mud Hens?
No, this is the Rockets. And it's my turn to pick first, and I will pick... do I go with my more hometown pick and go with Miami of Ohio? No, I'm going to go Toledo. Because Oxford, Ohio, where Miami, Ohio is not far from Cincinnati. Probably about 45 minutes.
All right, I'll go with Toledo, too.
Boise State, with the interim head coach, takes on UNLV. I'd love to know how many times a team is playing for the conference championship and they fired their coach. It just shows you how different.
It can't be too often. It can't be.
Yes, I can't imagine it's too often. I don't think
that number is too high.
Boise State or UNLV, Leroy?
Boise.
He's picking Boise State. My former SID that I worked with at center recently took a job at UNLV where I think he is like the secondary football contact. So shout out to Jake. I know he's not watching. And I'm going to roll with him and pick UNLV to win. Why? Because of Jake. Isn't that all we need to know, right?
Yeah.
SEC championship, Georgia and Alabama. And I have to pick this one first.
If Alabama wins this, they're in the playoffs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Winning the championship, right?
Yes. I would put them in the playoff, and I think Georgia gets in too. Probably.
If Alabama wins.
Yes.
If they lose, do you see them in?
No shot.
Okay.
No shot. Because that'd be 2 losses. No shot. Right. And I don't think a team has ever made the playoff with 2 losses. Now, next year, when they expand the playoff, because I think that's next year, they would make it in.
Yeah.
I'm picking Georgia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No shot.
SMU at Tulane, Leroy, in the American Athletic Conference Championship.
Such a weird matchup. I love it. I'll go with SMU for the upset.
I'm going to go with Tulane. Go Green Wave. Appalachian State travels to Troy in the Sun Belt Championship. Apparently, the SMU quarterback's hurt, but you've already locked it in, Leroy. Sorry.
I know.
Paul's already gone with that. I didn't know that. I'm just picking Tulane because they're at home. Appalachian State at Troy. Leroy, who you got?
I've loved them since.
Oh wait, nope. It's my pick first.
Oh, sorry.
In this one, I'm picking Troy.
Okay, I've loved them since they beat Michigan. App State, baby.
And why I'm picking Troy is because if Mark Stoops would have left Kentucky, Troy's head coach would have been the next head coach of Kentucky.
So bizarre. I love it.
Leroy.
Yeah.
In a game that will be on the same level of Appalachian State and Troy, the Big Ten Championship, Michigan and Iowa. And I'm saying that because this is not going to be a football game, right?
Keep it up. I'm taking notes of that.
Did you...
Oh, you're right, because the Georgia-Alabama game is not going to be boring as all can be.
I mean, Georgia-Alabama, I think, is going to be an actual good game. Do you honestly think Iowa can keep it close against Michigan?
Do you think Alabama can keep it close against Georgia?
Yes, absolutely.
Listen, I will say this. I know you're not going to believe me, but I think Iowa can keep Michigan low scoring. Michigan struggled against Rutgers until the third quarter.
But you do have to score to win.
I know.
And I'm not saying that as, like, in all seriousness, that's why. Are you picking Iowa?
No. I'm picking Michigan. I'm just saying I think the score is going to be a lot closer than what you think it's going to be.
Oh, Paul Reeves says Iowa by 50. If Iowa wins by 50, I think we both have to get Iowa tattoos.
Fine. If Iowa wins by 50, I will get a Hawkeye tattoo right here on my arm. I'll put it on the podcast, whatever. If Iowa wins by 50, I'll put a tattoo right here.
And then a Miller Lite tattoo on the other arm, right?
Other side.
The ACC championship.
What?
Louisville.
Good to see you, bud. Good to see you, man.
Louisville takes on Florida State. Leroy.
Florida State, let's go.
See, what worries me about this is that Florida State's quarterback got hurt.
Yeah.
Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
But I can't pick. I can't pick
all day.
L's down. Florida State.
All day.
And plus, I don't think I think the ACC is awful. I really don't think any of that. Florida State will make the playoff. They'll be the 3 seed. Michigan will beat the ever-loving snot out of them, I think. And I don't even think Michigan is that great. And I'm not saying that as a big, that's just honestly, I don't think Michigan is quite as good as maybe some people think.
I don't think they are. And I'll tell you, listen, you know me, you know how my feelings on the Big Ten, but let's be real here. They beat all the teams that they were supposed to beat, but they really struggled against some of the teams that you kind of expected them to play a little bit better against. Is Harbaugh going to be back for the? Is Harbaugh back now?
I think he can.
Is this suspension
I think
over?
he can. So it's 3 games. Then it was
Right.
the regular season. So I guess technically he would have had the right to come back. So I guess this would mean that the playoff. So Leroy, what's your playoff then? This isn't for points. This is more just for fun. So we both said Georgia will win. So that means Georgia's our 1.
Yep.
We both said Michigan will win. So that means Michigan is our 2.
2.
We both said Florida State wins. You went with Washington. So if Washington makes it, they're probably the 3. So I guess in your realm,
honestly, good for them.
In your realm, you'd be seeing Georgia against Florida State and Washington against Michigan would probably be your top 4, just based on who wins.
Yep, and Georgia crushes Michigan for the championship.
And I think it might be right here with what Forrest says. Is Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, Oregon?
Yeah.
But I guess Paul here.
I'm going with my picks, but yeah.
Paul here saying Georgia, Bama, Michigan, Washington. That would mean Bama beats Georgia, which I don't think is crazy. But then again, if that happens and Texas wins the Big 12, they're going to have the argument of
they'll throw everything off
because they beat Bama.
They're going to throw such a fit. If that happens, people are going to throw such a fit if Bama gets in over Texas. Oh my gosh. Like social media will lose its mind, man.
Does anybody actually want Texas in the playoff though?
No.
Not
anybody outside of Texas.
And I would love to see like an Oregon versus
Oregon's very intriguing. But like both Oregon and Washington are really interesting just because let's face it, those teams just don't make it maybe next year when they get into the Big Ten, they'll have a shot, but those teams just don't generally make it. They don't. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. I think it'll be a good conference championship weekend. I got to give a shout out to my alma mater, too. The Fighting Cooper Jaguars are playing for the state championship on Saturday evening. They're playing Bowling Green. It's a rematch of the 2012 state championship, which Bowling Green beat Cooper. And then Cooper's a newer school where I went. And they have played, this will be their 3rd state championship game across all sports they played in. They played football against Bowling Green in 2012, boys basketball against Bowling Green in 2017, and now they're playing Bowling Green in the state championship in football on Saturday. They've lost the first 2. Jags are taking it this time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Jags are taking.
Oh my gosh!
So that's kind of cool.
I was going to tell you something. I can't think of what I was going to tell you.
Need another Miller Lite?
I do. I was trying to think of. There was something. I just thought of something I was going to tell you, and I can't. I read Paul's message and it distracted me, and I forgot what I was going to.
Why was it just because it was such great insight that he was leaving that it just?
I'll think about it. Oh! I know what I was going to tell you. I love the off season for baseball. Because every single person that's got a check mark on Twitter is all like, my uncle's brother's mother said this. Well, some guy today who is going off the name of is something like Power Dave or something like that, who apparently broke the news that DeGrom was going to the Rangers, says that within the next 48 hours, Shohei Ohtani will be a Cub. And it's so funny that all of these like random like social media accounts pop up during baseball time, and they're like, my source? Trust me, bro. I know it's coming. I just laugh so hard at these guys that are all like, oh, yeah, I broke some random signing back in like 2018. And I know what I'm talking about. I laugh so hard at that stuff.
It's almost like that there should be a reason where not everybody should be able to have a check mark so that check mark actually has legitimate news.
Yes. Winter meetings start on.
Wouldn't you think that'd be a good idea?
Yes.
Oh,
Instead of paying to get your check mark, winter meetings start December 1st. Guys, this is supposed to be a really big year for winter meetings. We're excited to see what happens. It shouldn't be like previous years where we waited for, well, he sure as crap ain't going to be a Brave, Paul. We waited forever for
he's going to be a Royal.
Oakland Athletic or Las Vegas Athletic. It's interesting. I mean, just because I feel like there's going to be a whole lot more stuff that happens at these winter meetings. I know there's been a couple of years where we didn't get anything. We got maybe a few minor signings, and then stuff happened even close to spring training. But I think we're going to see some stuff happen for these winter meetings. I'm excited for them.
Should be good. I'm sure next week we'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff that might come of it. And who knows what else might come up in the next week. Or also next week, going to drop in some high school basketball. I know my high school basketball season opened up last night. Girls team lost. Boys team won 69-66. It was a great high-scoring game that the boys team this year is in the realm of we're just going to run up and down the floor as fast as we can and shoot a ton of threes. And about halfway through the second quarter, I kind of looked at the other radio guy, and we both gave each other this look like, man, we're not in mid-season shape yet. Like, this is quick.
We were tired. The girls, Taylor girls are 5-1. And I'm tired, let me tell you. Paul, multiple sources today said both the Yankees and the Rangers are out on Shohei. Take it for what you will. I mean, obviously.
Who are your sources?
One of the beat writers from the Yankees.
The way you said that, you're like, I called Brian Cashman earlier.
No, not me. I read from one of the Yankees. I was going to say,
how are you having Brian Cashman's phone number? We haven't had him on the pod yet.
I read from one of the Yankee beat writers that both the Yankees and the Rangers supposedly are out on Shohei, but take it with a grain of salt. You know how it is this time of year. You of all people, you, Paul, know how it is this time of year. So take that for what you will. It's been fun as always, Leroy. Oh, I love this. Thanks so much, Sam. This has been fantastic. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you for listening. We appreciate every one of you. We'll see each other next week in December. Oh my goodness, December already. That's the greatest source of all time, John. Trust me, bro. Great way to end it. We'll see you next week on another edition of From the Press Box.